Hey guys, let's start with new chapter of Loyalpin Volume 2, Chapter 46. My sister. I haven't visited in a long time. The Pine Palace is still so beautiful and charming as it is, Chow. The sweet, soothing voice of Chongfa couldn't help but enter Prick's ears immediately. This night, the voice owner, with an accent as sweet as wild flower honey, was invited to stay overnight at the Pine Palace for the first time. It was a significant event. Prick unhesitatingly views this matter in a result of the war of nerves between Princess Anel and Lady Pilantetta, because if the two of them had not faced each other at the dinner table at the king's birthday celebration held tonight, no matter how bad it was, Princess Anel would never open her mouth to invite her elder relative, who had affection for her, to stay at the Pine Palace. When mentioning the atmosphere in the last evening, Prick can only briefly define it as Maku. Note, Maku, the atmosphere is heavy and uncomfortable. When the royal family eats, there are only senior relatives at the table, a separate dining table. Therefore, is full of young people, including Prince Anantavat and Lady Parvati, his wife, Prince Anan and Khun Ornida, his fiancée. Next to Khun On was her sister, Khun Alisara. Beside them were Princess Anil and Chongfa. The final couple is Lord Quacket and his fiancée, Lady Pilantetta. Sitting alone with a broad smile is Pranot, a close friend of both the Vice Prince and Princess Anil. Extremely hot. Prick, observing from a distance, clearly felt the heat simmering around her as a young woman with excellent senses. In comparison, the dining table in front of Prick is no different from a stage play filled with top performers. The first act is of Prince Anantavat, who pretends to be affectionately infatuated with Lady Parvati, his wife. Nevertheless, those sweet eyes tend to spread towards Chongfa at times, sometimes without realizing it. It's easy for Prick to notice with just a glance. As such, can it be called a performance worthy of the role? The next performance comes from Khun On. She pretended to be quiet and not interested in anything other than answering a small conversation with Pranot. But her eyes were constantly looking at Prince Anil all the time. Next is Lord Quacket, who almost always talks about his ownership in Lady Pilantetta whenever he gets the chance. Meanwhile, the face of the woman he mentioned is icy and dry. Among all the actors, the ones who are the most independent are young women with beautiful smiling faces like Chongfa and Lady Pilantetta. On one side, Cho Yong sincerely smiled every time she conversed with whom she madly in love with, Princess Anil. On the other side, Kunpin had a sad, miserable look, as if the whole world was collapsing in front of her. Prick looked at the overall performance and the non-show in front of her with mixed feelings. When will you get married? Do you have any auspicious date, Konkua? Prince Anand started a conversation that made actors such as Prince Anantavat and Princess Anil raise their cups of tea and take a sip, feeling very annoyed. I already got a date, Your Highness. It's the middle of next month, Your Highness. Lord Quacket smiled wide and brightly, as if dominating the entire world. At this time, the wedding will take place at the Bua Palace. However, I would like to invite the Vice Prince in advance, Your Highness. Khunku is smiling so widely. Prince Anand smiled. I can tell how disgusting it looks. The Vice Prince, please don't tease Khunkua like that. Khun On interrupted the conversation with a smile. Look, Khunkua, his face is all red. Look at Lady Pilantita's face first. What a mess. Prick screamed and shouted in her heart, which no one could hear. Nevertheless, the truth is the truth. At this time, Lady Pilantita only looked down at her hands under the table. Everything is so fast, Chow. The engagement and wedding are less than a month apart. This conversation was from a young woman who was independent like Chongfa. If you count the time, I started approaching Kunpin. It wouldn't be considered that fast, Choyong. Khunkua turned to talk to Choyong with a happy smile. It's been considered too long already. The sound of the knife hitting the plate was from Princess Anil. It was as if her right hand suddenly weakened after hearing the words of the handsome young man, Kwakit. I'm sorry, today I'm a bit powerless. It seems like I'm sick. Princess Anil's words attracted almost every pair of eyes to turn to stare at her beautiful face in a time that overlapped for just a fraction of a second, especially with the eyes of Lady Pelantita, Chongfa, and Konon, who even can see more clearly that her eyes filled with concern that cannot hide. Is something wrong, Anil? Is it better to take medicine and then go rest? I will tell father that you're not well. Prince Anantavad spoke in a voice concerned for his favorite sister. Nevertheless, Princess Anil said in a calm voice, "This is just a headache." Princess Anil glanced at Lady Pelantita. "I can endure." Hearing this, Lady Pelantita could only keep her head down and look at her own feet. She bit her lip restrainedly, especially when Chongfa started new conversation. Lady Pelantita could only listen silently. "Then can I stay at the Pine Palace, Chow? If your fever gets high, there will be someone to take care of you." "That's an excellent idea." Prick's eyes widened when she saw Princess Anil accept the words of her older relative, who has affection towards her, so quickly. If everything is considered a chessboard, it's a game that Lady Pelantita is relatively disadvantaged. And Lady Pin's response to this conversation was only to clench both hands so tightly until her skirt was wrinkled. Even if no one notices such behavior, Prick notices it quickly. "I heard that your semester break is almost over, Chow." "Yes, Chow Yong, probably at the end of the next month. I will have a long semester break." Princess Anil answered Chongfa's conversation in the most gentle and sweet voice. No matter how good it seems to be acting, in the end, that was Princess Anil's superior performance. Prick could only tell herself like that. "So, could I invite you to spend the long semester break at the Chaufa Palace, Chow? I guarantee that I will give you the best hospitality." Not only her sweet voice, but also Chongfa's beautiful face at this time had become gentler and sweeter. The eyes of Prince Anantavad were inadvertently looking at Chaufa's obsessively. "Thank you, Chayong, for your kindness," Princess Anil answered in a voice that was equally gentle and sweet. "About going to stay at Chaufa Palace, I'll think about it first. Soon I will give you an answer." "I'll wait for your answer, Chow." Chongfa's voice was still as gentle and sweet as ever. Still, it had a power like acid, which had a strong effect on both Lady Pelantita and Kunon Alisara, because at this time they were both biting their lips, unable to bear it. "Chongfa has said too much." Princess Anil still smiled and welcomed the vital visitor without any qualms about her duties. "I have neglected the Pine Palace for a long time. No additional decorations from what used to be because I focused on continuing my studies." Princess Anel ordered as she extended her hand and invited Choengfa to sit down on the beige sofa in front of the fireplace. She nodded to Prick to go prepare the guest room before turning to talk to Chongfa, smoothly as if she had forgotten that Chongfa had once confessed that she had feelings for her. "How are you? Are you doing well?" "My body is considered fine, sister," Chongfa said, smiling weakly. "But the mental matter is not very comfortable, Chow. The more I see Kunpin engaged in such a short period, the more distressed I am. Because I can't help but think of my own time. Is it? Chowmangram has begun to rush you?" Princess Anel poured tea in a porcelain cup for Chongfa before moving with great concern. "He didn't. Nevertheless, It was my mother. Chongfa took the cup of the tea and took a sip out of respect for the host. She asked about the engagement days, Chow. It is tough to be born as women, Princess Anil said with a smile, but it was a smile mixed with bitterness. Why don't we have the right to choose? Indeed, if we have the right to choose, Chongfa's light colored eyes raised to meet with Princess Anil's eyes meaningfully. The other side may not have the same opinion as us. For example, Kunpin is very fond of you, but you can't be together. This time, it was Princess Anil who met the eyes of Chongfa with great interest. Is everything as clear as that? It may not be clear in the eyes of others. At this point, Chongfa reached out and held on to Princess Anil's thin hand recklessly. But it's so clear in my eyes, and it is apparent that you are falling into a deep pit of pain, not different from what I am. Princess Anil swallowed her sticky saliva down her throat with difficulty. Is it my karma? Princess Anil's sharp eyes, dark eyes, seemed to have darkened significantly. Why did you say that? Chongfa's voice was sweet. If not, then Princess Anil's tears began to linger in her eyes. Why did I suffer such pain, as if my heart slashed to shreds like this? Finally, Princess Anil poured out and bathed her in a puddle of tears. Chongfa saw this and rushed to embrace her sister, only wanting to comfort the person she loved the most. I can't think of anything, but karma caused you to shed tears for me. I have never even thought of blaming you, not even a bit. Chongfa consoled in a highly gentle voice. I can only wish that you will be successful in love. Don't give up, as I have never given up, even once, Chongfa said, raising her hand to caress Princess Anil's clear, wet cheeks gently. I know you are not a person who would give up so easily. Actually, I'm so weak. I'm lost to every man in this world. I can't possess the one I love most. My sister. Chongfa shed the most silent tears. She tightened her embrace towards Princess Anil's, even more when she spoke gently. It was like conversing with a little girl. Please don't blame yourself like that. Can you? Brick, who had finished preparing the guest room, incidentally saw Chongfa hugging Princess Anil, who was very weak. Nevertheless, Brick herself seems to understand every story, as if she was involved every second between Princess Anil and Chongfa. Because of that, Brick only had to leave and disappeared entirely into the nooks of the Pine Palace. What is your pain like? Princess Anil, in Chongfa's embrace, spoke in a faint voice. By this time, I understood very clearly. I didn't want you to taste it. Chongfa raised her hand and brushed the shiny black hair of Princess Anil to the back of her ear in a very gentle gesture. The taste of disappointment in love is so bitter. If you have got face, don't ever end up like me. That's it for this chapter, guys, and I'll see you next with chapter 47 pretty soon. Thank you.